up, you guys? The Curious Owl here, and today I will be sharing with you guys my September unhaul. So every single month I have been trying to slowly get rid of more and more books that I either have read before and will probably never get back to, and or books that I haven't even really read and I've kind of lost interest in or just don't really seem to want to read anymore. So today I've got a little bit of a shorter selection of things. Most of these are either standalones or series, or are basically a lot of books by the same author that I'm just no longer interested in because I've either, again, read them and don't want to read them again, and or are books that I basically just don't really find any interest in anymore. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with these. These are going to be in no particular order, but authors are going to stay together as well as series. So the first one is my copy of The Borden Murders, Lizzie Borden and the Trial of the Century by Sarah Miller. This actually was one of my very first reviews I ever did on my channel. I think it was within like the first 5 or 6 videos I ever did for a review. So I have had this for a while. I really did enjoy it when I read it, and it's basically just a nonfiction true crime story. I just don't think I'm ever going to read it again, and I would much rather have space on my shelves for books I'm either excited to read or would like to, you know, keep for a long period of time. Next one is going to be a bit of a shock, I think, to a lot of people because this is a very well-beloved series, but I am unhauling the entire To All the Boys I've Loved Before series by Jenny Han. I only read the first book, which was To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I really did enjoy it at the time I read it. You can see I have some tabs here, which I will remove before selling. I have struggled to get back to the series, and I think it's because I don't really care anymore, and I just feel like I'm not really into the YA contemporary that Jenny Han was writing this series in at the time. I feel like if I read YA contemporary, it's more so because I want to read stories that are not focused on romance and they have other things added to them, and this was just a series I never felt like I really could go back to, so I feel like it's just time for me to finally give them up. Is a read I had fairly recently that I was very lukewarm about, and I am not surprised I'm deciding to get rid of it because I just don't think I'm ever going to go back to this or read the sequel, and that is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. I was very lukewarm about this. I read it in, I think, July, and it was good, but I also had a little bit of a hard time reading. It was just really intense and I couldn't really seem to enjoy it, and I felt like overall the story just wasn't as compelling in terms of like the overall not slasher part of it. I didn't feel like I connected with the main character much at all. So I just don't feel like I'm going to ever go back to this, and I was interested at first in reading the sequel when I first finished this, but not so much anymore. So time to just give it away. I'm sure many of you are not surprised by because of the fact that I had a whole video that I was supposed to read the entire series of this, and I ended up DNFing the very first book about 100 pages in, and that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I only currently own the first book in this. This was a gift to me back a couple years ago, but I read it, I hated it, I don't want it anymore, and I'm very happy to say this will be coming off of my shelves finally. Another book I also read recently, I read the entirety of though, and found it very disappointing, and that is Dark Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I also though am getting rid of the Monsters of Verity duology by her, which is This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. This Savage Song is actually an autographed copy. This part of her writing I have not seemed to have enjoyed so far, except for Gallant, which was her newest book. I didn't like this one because I thought that it was boring. I didn't really connect any of the characters. Same thing goes for This Savage Song. I never did read Our Dark Duet, but I don't care enough to continue because this one left a really bad taste in my mouth. I just don't really care about the characters in this world either, so all 3 of these will be going up for sale. Next, I have 3 books in the series of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This is a very well-loved mystery thriller, domestic thriller kind of story, I guess, if you will. And I have the first 3 books, which are The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. I've had these for a long time. I've read all 3 of them. Have been meaning to continue with this series because I really liked it, but the more I try to look back on these books, I don't really remember much of what happened, and I found it to be way too complicated for me, so I don't have any desire to go back to these, and I think it's just time to send them on to somebody else. And finally, the biggest unhaul I have in terms of an author is I am getting rid of all of my Ruth Ware books. I, again, feel like I have found some things that are really good and a lot of things that are very, like, a big miss for me. So the ones I currently have are In a Dark, Dark Wood, The Death of Mrs. Westaway, The Lying Game, The Turn of the Key, and The Woman in Cabin 10. The Woman in Cabin 10 I did completely tab up and it's a mess. I will be taking these out again when I go to sell them. But I just don't feel like I have really jived well with Ruth Ware's writing, and I don't think I'm going to continue with reading her books. So the only ones out of this stack I have read are The Woman in Cabin 10 and I believe The Death of Mrs. Westaway. And I liked The Death of Mrs. Westaway a little bit more, but not much. I gave, I think, The Woman in Cabin 10 a 3-star. I may have given The Death of Mrs. Westaway a 4-star, but it was like a very low 4-star, and I have no desire to go back to reading her books anymore. Those are all the books I am currently getting rid of this month. I know it's a little bit smaller than the last couple of months, but I think I'm getting to the point where I am finding I have less and less books I want to actively get rid of. And I am also, you know, replacing some of these books with things I'm more excited for, either through my Kindle library or a physical version of that. So I'm very happy with the progress I have made thus far with going through my reading and finding what I like and finding what I want to keep. So this has been a really interesting few months of me going through and culling a lot of my things. But if you would like to purchase any of these books, they will be listed on my Pango Books account, which I always have in the description for you guys if you would like to check it out. All of the books that I had placed in my August unhaul will still be available for a very short amount of time. When this video goes out, they will be available up until this coming weekend, so make sure that if you want any of the books I unhauled in August, to get them as soon as possible because they will be going away very, very soon. These books will be put up when this video goes out on my Pango Books account, so they should be available for you to go check out when you see this video. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought about these. Did you like any of these books, and are you sad to see them go, or do you kind of agree with what I've said about them? But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all you guys in my next video. Bye, guys!